Hi everyone! Today I am going to be talking about my top books of 2021. I was originally only going to talk about my top 10 books of 2021, but there were just 3 books that I couldn't leave out. So here are my top 13 books of 2021. I would love to hear your top books of 2021, so please leave them down in the comments below. At number 13, we have Local Women Missing by Mary Kubica. Local Woman Missing goes between 2 time periods, 11 years ago and present day. 11 years ago, a lady named Shelby goes missing. Not long after, a lady named Meredith and her daughter Delilah go missing. The community is now in fear that somebody could be next, and they are also in fear that these 2 events are connected. Now, in present day, 11 years later, Delilah returns. Even though Delilah has returned, things don't seem right to Leo, her younger brother. Ever since Meredith and Delilah went missing 11 years ago, this is all that Leo's dad thinks about. Leo's dad put all his time and effort into finding Delilah that Leo feels a bit put to the side, and he feels like his dad doesn't really care about him, even though he is right beside his dad all the time. So when Delilah comes back, Leo is a bit apprehensive about this girl who could be his sister, but Delilah doesn't fit in to the sister that Leo remembers. I absolutely loved this book. There were multiple points of views which I absolutely loved, not just like Leo and the dad and Delilah and the mom, but also from like neighbors as well, which just added to the story. This was also a very intense book, and it had me drawn in from beginning to end. Number 12 is Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. This was on my TBR, but I didn't plan on reading it this year, but then I walked into the library and it was on the popular shelf. So I decided to pick it up, and I'm so glad I did. Evie has stopped believing in love. One afternoon, she saw a couple kiss, and she immediately saw a vision. Now, this vision was of how their romance began, where their romance is today, and how their romance will end. So Evie has now concluded that all romances will end in heartbreak. Evie finds herself at a dance studio learning many different dances with this boy named X. X's philosophy is to say yes to everything, including a dance competition that he just signed himself and Evie up for. And him and Evie have just met, and they don't know each other at all. So, no surprise, Evie ends up falling for X. Now Evie has to make this decision whether this relationship is worth having, even though she knows the ending. This book was heart-wrenching, extremely emotional, and very thought-provoking. The characters were beautiful in so many ways, but they still had flaws which added so much to the story. It had a very meaningful ending. I truly think that we could all learn something from this book. I think this story was fabulous. Coming in at number 11 is Where the Crawdads Sing by Julia Owens. This book goes between 2 timelines to tell the story of Kaya. To the locals, she is also known as the Marsh Girl. Kaya lives in the marsh just outside of town, and all the locals try to avoid her. When Kaya was young, her mother left, and not too soon after that, her siblings grew up and they also left as well. So Kaya was left with her father, and her father was not around too often, and he was also drunk and also abusive at times. So since Kaya's father was gone a lot, that meant she had to learn how to care for her home, all while dealing with loneliness, feelings of being abandoned, and loss. Kaya is very smart and found ways to provide for herself as well as make money for her basic needs. As Kaya gets older, 2 men enter her life. One is her brother's friend Tate. Tate teaches her to read and shows her love and acceptance. The other is Chase. Chase gives her hope for a better future, but Chase does not want to introduce her to his friends and family. In 1969, Chase is found dead, and there's rumors circulating around about who killed Chase, and rumors go to Kaya, or the Marsh Girl. There were so many great aspects to this book: kindness, resiliency, hope, loss, love, determination, strength, and so many more things that make this book so great. I felt like I was truly transported into the book. The Kitchen Front by Jennifer Ryan comes in at number 10. The kitchen front is set in England during World War II. Everyone is living on rations during the war, and they're having a hard time finding meals to cook with the little rations that they are provided. A radio program has decided to host a cooking contest, and the winner of this cooking contest will win the spot to co-host the cooking program, and they'll also win the title of being the first female to co-host a radio program. So 4 women enter this contest. So Audrey is a wartime widow with 3 children. She's desperately trying to feed, clothe, and shelter herself and her 3 children. If Audrey was to win, it would be a chance to pay off her late husband's debts and be able to keep a roof over her children's head. Lady Gwendolyn Strickland is married to an older rich man who wants to become a radio presenter. If Lady Gwendolyn was to win, it would be a chance to escape her life. Nell is a kitchen maid at Strickland Hall, and if she was to win, it would be a chance for her to find freedom. And Zelda is pregnant, unmarried, and out of work as a chef. And her lover is also a thief. If Zelda was to win, it would be a chance to challenge the men at the top of her profession. I absolutely adored this story. It was so heartwarming. I think my favorite part was seeing the character progression of these 4 women and how their lives were able to come together, how they interacted with each other. I also enjoyed the storyline of the book. Rations aren't something that you mainly hear talked about or read about when you're talking about World War II and historical fiction books, so it was really neat to hear this kind of perspective from something that actually did happen in a fictionalized way. Number 9 is the Redemption series by Karen Kingsbury. There are 5 books in the series, and the books in order are Redemption, which is this one, Remember, Return, Rejoice, and Reunion. My favorite book in this series was Remember, and I greatly enjoyed the series as a whole, and so that I don't spoil anything, I'm just going to talk about what happened in the first book. So Redemption follows the life of the Baxter family. John and Elizabeth Baxter have 5 children and multiple grandchildren. One of their children, Carrie, is having marriage problems, and her husband Tim is having an affair with one of his college students and wants a divorce. But Carrie wants to work on their marriage, but then an old flame shows up in Carrie's life and she's more confused than ever. I loved the theme of redemption in this book and throughout the rest of the series. I love that all the books were connected and just picked up where you last left off, which is why they should be read in order. I found the books very powerful in the topics that they covered and that they were very relatable to what people are going through in life. I truly felt like I was reading about a real family with all the details that were woven into the story. Coming in at number 8 is the Waves of Mercy series by Lynn Austin. You can't talk about the first book and not talk about the second book. Similar to the Redemption series by Karen Kingsbury, this series has 2 books, and it starts with Waves of Mercies and it continues and ends with Legacy of Mercy. So that I don't spoil anything that happens in the second book, I am just going to talk about what happens in the first book and know that this second book is a continuation of the story from the first book. Jessie crossed the ocean at age 17 from the Netherlands to come and settle in Michigan. 50 years later, the town has asked her to write down her life experiences so she can share it at the town's anniversary. She's very reluctant to write down her story, but she starts writing and uncovers memories and emotions that she had long hidden away, as well as her true love that she starts writing about. Not too far away, Anna arrives at Hotel Ottawa with a broken heart. Her fiancé has ended the engagement. Before leaving Chicago, Anna had secretly been going to this church that her parents did not want her to go to. At this church, she hears the minister talking about Jesus as if he was his best friend, not some faraway person like Anna hears about at her church. The words touch her greatly, but her fiancé forbids her from going back there. Anna secretly continues to go there, and her fiancé finds out, so he ends the engagement. When Anna is in Michigan, she is sitting on a beach, and this guy named Dirk recognizes her, but he recognizes her for someone else. But this is the beginning of a friendship between Anna and Dirk. Anna also learns that Dirk is studying to become a minister. Anna knows her mother would not approve of her spending time with Dirk, but Dirk listens to her like no one else has done before. Anna also shares the desire she has with Dirk to explore the differences between this formal religion that she grew up with and the Christian faith that just seems so real. I realize I just talked about these two characters, Anna and Jesse, as if it was like a completely different story and like it doesn't seem related. But these two stories come together in such a powerful way. But I absolutely loved this book. And the second book was a fabulous continuation and had the most wonderful ending. Another Lynn Austen book comes in at number 7. This is If I Were You by Lynn Austen, and this is a standalone series, and this book has 2 timelines. Audrey comes from an aristocratic and privileged background. Eve comes from a poor background. Eve's mother is Audrey's mother's maid. At a young age, Eve starts working in Audrey's house as a maid. And aristocratic children are forbidden to be friends with servant children. But like all books, Audrey and Eve become friends. And this friendship lasts from childhood through the war and many years after. When the war hits close to home, Audrey and Eve both join as ambulance drivers. While fighting the war, Audrey meets an American who gives her a dream of a bright future, and with the class system has been brought down now because of the war, Eve can finally hope for a relationship with Audrey's brother. But with war comes loss, and Audrey and Eve make life-altering decisions that bring a string and train of lies that last for many, many years. Audrey leaves her manor in England to come to America for a better life. As a widowed bride and mother, her in-laws have offered her the opportunity to come and live with them. And Audrey has never met them before. She arrives to find her longtime friend Eve has been impersonating her for the past 4 years. This brings out the deception and secrets from a long time ago. So this isn't a spoiler that I just shared that Eve is impersonating Audrey, because it happens right at the beginning of the book. And I was a little confused because both of the people were being called Audrey, but once I understood what was happening, it was smooth sailing from there. This was such an amazing book with the included themes of mistakes, but more importantly, forgiveness. This book was very intense at times and made the war seem so real and personal. The Last Checkmate by Gabriela Sab comes in at number 6. Maria is 14 and working for the Polish underground resistance in Nazi-occupied Warsaw. Maria is discovered by the Gestapo while delivering documents, and her family are arrested. And Maria is interrogated, and after Maria's interrogation, her and her family are taken to Auschwitz, and Maria is the only one to survive after the first day. She is saved by the camp deputy Fritz, but only when he learns that she can play chess and can be used to entertain the camp guards. Maria knows that Fritz will kill her when he becomes bored with the game of chess playing. Maria's only goal is to survive so that she can avenge the murder of her family. Throughout this story, Maria provokes Fritz's volatile nature in front of his supervisors in order to orchestrate his downfall. Then she will have the chance to see him pay for his wickedness. Maria carries out her plan as the war ends. During this time, she challenges Fritz to one final chess game that ends in life or death, failure or justice. That is, only if Maria can face Fritz one last time. This book was very well researched, and I really enjoyed the use of a chess game throughout the storyline, and how some amazing friendships were formed in the book. Coming in at number 5 is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Avery is a girl in high school living with her sister. Her current plan is to survive high school, win a scholarship, so that she can create a better life for herself. One day she's at school and she's called down to the office, and this person at the office has told her that she's been summoned to come to this reading of a will by Tobias Hawthorne. And Avery has never seen, and she's never even heard of Tobias Hawthorne in her life. So she goes to the reading of the will. She learns that she has inherited Tobias Hawthorne's billion-dollar fortune, including his house. The only catch is that she has to live in his gigantic house with his family members still living there for 1 year, or else everything will be given to charity. Tobias Hawthorne also really loved clues and hiding clues in his house, so his house is full of clues. So Avery and Tobias Hawthorne's 4 grandsons are determined to find the answer in the clues to why he left Avery his fortune. This was a great book. The storyline was a lot of fun with many twists and turns. I was engaged through the entire story. I'm really, really looking forward to reading the rest of the series. Number 4 is another 2-book series, Before the Coffee Gets Cold and Tales from the Cafe by Toshikawa Kawaguchi. In Tokyo, there's a cafe that's been brewing coffee for more than 100 years. But unlike other coffee shops, this coffee shop has the ability to allow you to travel back in time. There are 4 time travelers in Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and also 4 time travelers in Tales from the Cafe. But specifically in Before the Coffee Gets Cold, the visitors who visit the cafe want to confront the man who left them, receive a letter from their husband who has Alzheimer's, see their sister one last time, and meet their daughter they never got a chance to know. But traveling back in time isn't as easy as it sounds. There are specific rules you must follow, and if you don't follow them, there's a risk that comes along without following them. The rules are you must sit in a particular seat, you cannot leave the cafe, and you must drink all of the coffee and return to the present before the coffee gets cold. I really loved each story that went back in time. The character developments were incredible. The characters learn so much, but you learn just as much from reading about these characters. The ending was my favorite in both books. Coming in at number 3 is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Nora has decided that she doesn't want to live anymore. She sees herself as trapped, a failure, and that nobody will miss her when she's gone. So Nora tries to end her life. Once Nora has tried to end her life, she is transported to this library that is the library between life and death. In this library, there are millions of books on millions of shelves, and each book is a book with the life that you could have lived. Nora just needs to find the book that makes her feel fulfilled and happy. Nora could be anything she wants. She could open a book where she says yes to her ex. She could open a book where she lives in Antarctica. She could open a book where she's an Olympic medalist. The possibilities are endless. The question leads down to, what does Nora really want in life? Can she truly be happy? This book changed my perspective on how I view my life. I could think, well, what if this happened? Or if this happened, I could be here by now. But in the end, what is it that truly matters about where you are in life? My second favorite book of the year is His Gift, My Story by Kim Collingsworth. This book is about Kim Collingsworth's life. If you don't know who Kim Collingsworth is, she is a gospel singer with her husband and her 4 kids. This book starts off by taking you to when she was 3 years old. When Kim was 3 years old, she heard her dad preach a sermon about Solomon and how Solomon asked for a gift. 3-year-old Kim went home that night and asked God to give her a gift. God ended up giving her a gift, and that gift was the gift of music, specifically playing the piano. This is where the story starts, and she writes about life as she gets older, through her teen years to getting married and having kids, and now to where they are today. This was a fabulous book. I loved reading about how God has worked through the Collingsworth family, not just Kim's life, but her entire family. It was so neat to see the things that Kim wrote in her journal about the things her and her husband Phil talked about that could possibly happen one day, and then years later, having seen those things happen in their ministry. It was so incredible to look back at the ministry of the Collingsworth family, to how it started, and now to where it is today. I also loved and was encouraged by all the wisdom that Kim shared in this book. My favorite book of the year is The Last Bookshop in London by Madeline Martin. Grace moves to London with her best friend Viv in 1939, just before the start of the war. The 2 women live with Grace's mother's best friend, Mrs. Weatherford, and her son Colin. Grace worked at her uncle's shop in the country before they moved to London, and Grace's uncle wouldn't give her the letter of recommendation that she needed to work at the department store. So Mrs. Weatherford ends up finding a job for Grace at Primrose Hill Books for 6 months. Though Grace is not a reader, she organizes the bookshop in hopes of getting a letter of recommendation to the department store. One day, Grace meets a customer named George. They quickly become friends after George explains the magic of reading and gives her his personal copy of The Count of Monte Cristo before he leaves for the war. Grace soon becomes an avid reader, and the bookshop begins to grow. Grace and George continue to correspond while George is in the war. Grace also volunteers as an air raid precautions warden 3 nights a week. Grace becomes known for her reading of books inside the local tub station during the air raids. There were so many heartwarming but also heartbreaking things that happened in this book. I felt so connected to the characters, and the characters were so relatable and so genuine. There were so many different aspects in this book, which made it so enjoyable. Since it's based during the war, I love how everyone came together during the hard times to lend a helping hand, regardless of how they felt about each other. This was a wonderful book with ordinary people who had the courage to keep going despite their circumstances. Resilience and a thirst for life and love for everyone around them. Thanks for watching this video. If you haven't commented down below your favorite reads, make sure to do so now. I will also be coming out with another video of all the books I read in 2021, so make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss that video when I post it. Also, don't forget to like and share this with anyone who you think might enjoy. Thanks for watching!